We're told this so much, but we forget it in our times of struggle. Two words: trust God. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths." With all your heart and in all your ways, trust God. In Matthew chapter 14, Jesus' disciples is in the middle of the sea, and they're being tossed by waves, and the wind is very chaotic. And Jesus starts to walk on the sea, and he calls out to Peter, and Peter steps out the boat, and he starts to walk on the water. And then he notices something. The wind is really heavy, it's chaotic everywhere, and he takes his eyes off of Jesus, and he begins to sink, and he calls out to God, "Jesus, help me." And Jesus grabs him, and he tells Peter this: "O you of little faith, why do you doubt me?" We have very little faith in God sometimes. For instance, we worry. I worry about a lot of things. I worry about school, money, where I'm going to work, and like, if I were to make a list of things, I probably think I'm like the most worried person in the world. It's probably not true. Probably other people are more worried than I am, but we all worry a lot. And Jesus tells us not to worry. Not to worry at all. Worrying doesn't do anything for us. It doesn't help us grow. It doesn't give us peace or comfort. He tells us don't even worry about the food that you're going to put in your mouth, because he will provide for all of that. And that happens only when we put trust in him. We go to other people for comfort. We go to other people for advice. And not that that's a bad thing, but when we're doing that more than going to God about the things that we're stressing about or our problems, it becomes a problem, because we're relying on other people more than God to help us out. And sometimes we take matters into our own hands, and we try to do things by ourselves, and we rely on ourselves instead of relying on God. And sometimes we feel very distant from God when bad things happen. Like Job, he felt distant from God because he's like, how can God even work in this? Like, what did I do to deserve this? But no matter what happened to him, he still trusted God. But in our cases, I know in my case, when a bad thing happens, I'm easily on the side of, how can God be working in this? And I distant myself from God because I'm too consumed with all the bad things that's happening. Sort of like Peter, when he started to walk on the water and he started to focus on how bad the sea was, or like how bad the wind was, he began to sink. And sometimes I do the same thing. It's just horrible. But that's what happens when we take our eyes off of Jesus, when we don't trust in him. We sink. We're not trusting God when we worry. We're not trusting God when we take matters into our own hands. We're not trusting God when we go to other people to feel secure, to feel loved, and for us to feel significant. We're not trusting God when we do those things more than we are going to God. We're not trusting God when we doubt his promises, when we doubt his word, when we doubt belief in him. We're not trusting in God when we do these things, and it only causes pain and even more suffering and makes our situation worse. There are many other examples that when we're not trusting in God. But no matter how difficult the situation, no matter if someone just died, that's hurtful, that's painful, or you're low on money, seems like we're always low on money. But whether you're having relationship problems, you just got through a breakup, or just really anything, no matter what the circumstance is, we need to put all of our worries, all of our concerns aside just for a second and focus on God. We need to focus on God and trust Him. Put everything aside and just focus and trust in God. Some things that we can do to push all of our worry, the situation aside, and have more faith in God is, first, just by praying. Go to God about the situation, the problem, what's on your heart, what's going through your mind. Just go to Him and ask Him to guide us. You remember Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths. God promises us that He's going to guide us when we trust in Him. So by going to God in prayer and asking Him, what should we do? How should we respond to this situation? Could you help me out? Could you save me from this? Do I need to be patient? Like, what things do I need to do? God will guide us with that. We need to go to God about our problems first, and we can do that through prayer. Secondly, we can just easily go to the Word and get His answer from there. We could read the Bible, remember His promises, remember the things that He says to us, and follow them, and trust that God is going to provide for us. He gives promises of salvation, or joy, peace, comfort. He says that we're going to go through trouble, but He's going to give us what we need. He's going to provide for us. We need not worry about anything, because He's going to be there. Just like He saved Peter from sinking, He's going to save us. And He only could do that when we go and trust in Him, and we don't take things into our own hands. And last but not least, we can easily focus on God, how God is working in our lives, and thank Him for that. There's many instances in my life where I think I'm going through the worst situation ever, and I can easily focus on those things, everything bad happening to me, and then I forget how God is actually using those things for my benefit. I may not see it right now, but I could see it in a week or a month or even a year, and then I look back in hindsight and I'm like, wow, I'm really happy that God stopped me from going through with this situation, or like held me back from doing certain things. I'm happy for it, because my situation now is much better than it would have been if those things would have happened. So we need to focus in on how God is working in our lives and thank Him for that, because we know that once we get through this certain period of time, whether it's a lot of stress, whether it's a lot of frustration, uncertainty in the air, or pain, we know once we get through that, God is going to give us much more, and He's going to provide, and our situation in the future is going to be way better than our situation right now. Like this video in the comment section below. Tell me how you're doing, and if there's anything I could pray for, let me know. And remember to subscribe. I love you all, and I will see you in the next video.